Well, tonight, Governor DeSantis is proposing a new bill that would crack down on what he calls violent and disorderly assemblies, pointing to protests over the summer following the death of George Floyd. While many were peaceful demonstrations, the governor is looking to expand Florida's Stand Your Ground law under a so-called anti-mob draft. On Your Side's Kaylee Tracy is talking to us tonight about how it will work and why some say it infringes on our First Amendment rights.
That just is going to have a very chilling effect on people's exercise of their First Amendment freedoms. And this is a very dangerous road to proceed down.
Jacksonville attorney Matthew Katurgis, who successfully sued JSO on behalf of peaceful protesters who were arrested over the summer, responding to legislation proposed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, announced this week the proposal justifies the use of force by citizens to defend against criminal acts during protests like looting.
It creates a chilling effect on the citizenry in general, that if you have these ridiculous penalties and provisions that may result in you being shot and murdered as a result of engaging in an otherwise peaceful protest.
The proposal builds on DeSantis's promise in September of, quote, anti-rioting, anti-looting legislation needed, DeSantis says, to restore law and order. That legislation would make it a crime to obstruct traffic during a protest and offer protection to drivers who injure or kill traffic blocking protesters. It would also increase penalties for any protester who attacks police officers or causes property damage, and allow the state to block funding for cities that defund police departments. The proposal is not yet finalized, but a protest of the draft is already planned for next weekend.
It's targeting the Black Lives Matter protests to the exclusion of anything else.
The draft would have to be introduced, considered, reviewed by a committee, voted on, and passed to become law. Kaylee Tracy, First Coast News, On Your Side.